Hello, all you delightful creatures, and welcome to the Laughing Fox Tarot. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If not, if you are new, welcome in general. I have for you all today another pick a card reading. Tonight's special pick a card reading is asking the question of what do our shadows have to tell us? What part of ourselves are we not seeing that's hidden in the darkness? If you're new to pick a card readings in general, welcome. The concept is pretty simple. We'll be diving into 4 individual readings based on the question that was asked, and you may find yourself drawn to one or more of these images, and those will indicate which pile is for your reading. Sorry, my finger wasn't quite in there. Doop. So you can, however you like, however you find that you best center yourself. I like to take a deep breath and close my eyes. And as I let my breath out, I open my eyes and allow myself to be drawn to whichever pile or piles just seem to be calling out to me based on the imagery. Right, so with that out of the way, the timestamps will be down below to each of the piles in order, piles 1 through 4. And again, we're looking at the question tonight of what do my shadows wish me to know? What part of myself is hidden in the darkness? Okay, I will see you over at your readings. Bye. Oh, and I will have the shuffling of the cards right after this, but you can skip ahead to your timestamps if you want to, so see you wherever. Okay, I'm going to start with the drawing of the cards. Okay, Spirit, we're asking a question of what would our shadows like us to know we don't see about ourselves? Just need a couple of piles here. This will serve as the foundation. Oh, there's one. Just a couple of piles. Oh, there's 2. Okay. These cards are slippery. And 3 and 4. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and get some tarot cards. Some tarot cards for pile number 1. Okay. That's a lot. Well, sure. It's for pile number 1. Alright. Calm down, cards. Pile 2. They are just jumping out all over the place. I swear I'm just not just being a Butterfingers tonight. I mean, it could be both things, but... Jeez. Okay. Yeah, sure. Pile 3. Alright. That's enough. Thank you. Pile 4. Yeah, we'll grab some Traveler Tarot, Sacred Traveler. Make it a guiding light for each of these piles. No? Okay, maybe later. Well, I guess that's it for now. Pull runes probably after 2. Okay. Now how do I want to do this? Setup is the hardest part. Boop. We'll do pile 4. 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome. If you chose pile number 1 or the card with the clocks on it, then this is your reading. And I'll hold this one a little bit closer so you can get a bit of a better view of it. Although the details are going to be a bit fuzzy in this lower lighting, but I think you can get the gist of it. We have a bunch of hanging clocks or stopwatches. Right out of the gate with this card, there is definitely a sense of urgency, a sense of the white hair from Alice in Wonderland, always worried about the time, and being on time for a thing. So there is this panicked, rushed feeling of and worry about time, and it's on your mind a lot, and it's often on your mind because you don't want to let it slip by, but it's paradoxically that sort of mentality that actually makes it seem like it goes by so much faster, because we're so focused on it that it happens to pass us by, because we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about time, right? And we're planning, and we're thinking, how long do these things take, and how long will this take for this to come to fruition? And you spend a lot of time in the future that way, and then you're not getting quite the full experience of the present. And it's that sort of worry that's it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But there's a lot more to this. Let's dive deeper and see what else the cards have to say. So I have your tarot cards that I pulled here earlier. We have the Wanderer. Sorry, it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to find the right focus. Yeah, there we go. We have the Wanderer, which is this deck's Fool card. You've been underway on something, and you're wondering when it's going to start. The Wanderer is here to say you're already started. So, you know, if you're waiting for the clicker to go on the stopwatch, it's already off. You've already been making the steps, and you just might not see it right now because it's not, you're in this not beginning stage, but you're in the early stages of whatever it is that you're doing, and so it doesn't look like the end of whatever dream that you have. And oftentimes you end up taking that step out into the unknown. See how they're kind of just stepping into like the mist, and there's not really a clear path in front of them, although we do have this lovely rainbow bridge. You know, when you're in that space, you're stepping out into the unknown. It feels like sometimes that you're not doing things explicitly related to whatever your dreams might be, but you are, because this card is definitely a sign of like whatever path you're following is leading you to where you want to be. I'm going to need to get, no idea how I'm going to place these cards up. Hey, look, it's the tarot cards I'm using. Okay, next card we have is the 10 of Vessels, right? So this is where you're heading, and it feels like you've lost sight of this. You feel a bit in the fog, and that's because right now your mind's here, right? Instead of being here. And so it feels like you're just wandering aimlessly in the fog when you're not, but this is part of this journey. Sorry, I need to readjust a little bit. You know, every step that you're taking along the path is to teach you, right? The things that you're going to need to really embody your 10 of Cups, your overflowing joy. And so if you're feeling a bit lost and a bit like you're under time pressure, a lot of pressure, right? Deadlines, this pressure here, and it feels like it's filling and overflowing. And this is just another thing that you're going to see along the way that helps break down the dams, right? That might feel like they're stopping this sort of flow. Because when we're in our flow, we are in our present. We're not here. You know, there's a time for planning. There's a time for consideration, right? But when that's over, and we're in our flow, that's when, you know, this kind of tends to turn around. Right? And literally the biggest thing you can do for this is to not worry about this, right? To put this away. There is a time. Often, like in the beginning, in the planning stages, you know, you need to consider, you set reasonable goals for yourself, and you factor that in. But once that work has been done, it gets set aside. You don't continue to stare at the watch as every second passes by, right? You put it away until it's needed again. We have Ace of Stones, the foundations of life. Here, I'm gonna actually write this one just so you can see it, because it's a bit of a tricky imagery. Here we have a stone with a bunch of carvings in them, and they're very old patterns that are like over a lot of historical monuments. And I actually don't know the history as much of this as I would like to talk about it as much, but what strikes me is what strikes me about this card is just how old it is, right? How this has stood the test of time. These monuments that exist still today, and the evidence of our history and ancestors. So I think this is asking us to look back a bit, right? Look back into what our ancestors were doing with their time and how we spend our time right now. Time is such a tricky thing, because in the last century or so, at least especially here in the United States, production and time have been a very big deal for like how efficiently things are worked on and how quickly we work on them, and the expected like production rate of certain things. Our ancestors were not functioning under similar conditions, right? Art, expression were not a means to an end. They were what a civilization did when their basic needs were being met. You know, when they had food, they had shelter, then that is when the creativity can really flourish. Yeah, even in the times when those things were scarce, there was still that, but like, you know, these really huge monuments that we see, and just incredible displays of artwork and expression that definitely took some time. Like finding a stone and just chiseling some paths and holes into it. That took some time, and you know, it wasn't about production. It wasn't about meeting anyone else's needs except for the need of the spirit. And that is where creativity thrives. It does not thrive on a schedule. You cannot, I'm sure you've tried, you cannot just summon creativity. You can foster an environment where it is likely to flourish. But the muses come when they wish. And certainly putting a strict timetable and a strict expectation and schedule of how things should go and how fast they should go is not an inviting space for the muses. We have here, I'm going to pull out these last two cards next to each other. We have the Green Woman and the King of Stones, the Wolf. Okay, for the Green Woman, I'm actually going to want to read that one from the book. So we'll start there, as I familiarize myself more with this deck. And very unlikely that you'll actually be able to read any of these texts, but we'll see. Maybe? Is it possible? I think this is going to be too dark. Yeah. It's okay. I'll read it for you. Okay. The Green Woman, disgorger of nature, crowned with ferns and wild roses, breathes the divine word of life. Her calm, serene expression is steady and full of graceful sovereignty. Round her neck is the golden Celtic gorget, that might be right, representing the sun throughout the year. The golden amber cup before her has within is the milk of love and nurturing of the Sheila Nagig. On its side represents the life force of all women. The Green Woman symbolizes the forest at midsummer. Here, amid the luxuriant foliage, small animals and birds of the wildwood live and build their homes, creating a whole ecosystem within the branches and a safe haven for the innocent and vulnerable beneath its roots. The meaning of the card. The Green Woman encompasses the female archetype of wildness and green energy. Her presence balances that of the wild man and represents the earthly manifestation of female solar energy with the rich bounty of the Great Mother. She also represents the goddess of the land, sometimes expressed as sovereignty, who challenges all comers to brave her tests and to offer to those who succeed the gifts of inner kingship and love, and a deepening bond to the riches of the earth. From her pours the glorious light of the midsummer sun, blessing everything it touches with life and boundless energy. This figure is complex and subtle, but highly dynamic in its interaction with anyone who seeks to understand the nature of the Wildwood mythos. She mediates the sacred blessing of the earthly fertility and the beasts that inhabit it, and it forms a deep bond with the seeker who wishes to attune to the rhythm of the wheel of the year. In the Arthurian tradition, she validates the kingship of Arthur by bringing him the sacred sword and establishes him as guardian of Hallows of Britain, sometimes appearing as the Lady of the Lake, who fosters both Arthur himself as well as the young hero Lancelot. In other stories, she manifests as the Flower Bride, sought after by more than one of Arthur's great knights and offering the deep bonds of matrimony and joy to those with whom she shares her bounty. At its heart, her sacred role is the initiator of the human individual into the realm of the wildwood. Okay, so there was a lot there. A lot of what I got out of that was initiation and creating a space, a nourishing space. Just going back to what I was saying before of creating that inviting space for creativity to flourish, the conditions for creativity to flourish and be nourished. And not so much not as much the or rather balancing the conditions of the mind and the heart, right? And I feel like with this card coming up, there's been a lot of thought that has gone into creating the right conditions and at least making sure all the boxes are checked. But now it's a matter of shifting that focus, that work, to creating the space in which whatever you're trying to create will flourish. You don't need to worry about the time now. You don't need to be worried about being on time, because as long as with the Wanderer card here, you have your goal in mind, you're going to make it there. And the steps in between, you don't have to plan for that. You can't plan for that, right? Again, the planning is stopped in terms of more long-term thinking. Keeping your goal in mind, you do use your head in balance with your heart when making decisions, but you don't have to worry about how long it's going to take right now, because it will take as long as it needs to take, but it'll also be in the right timing for you. And there's a lot of things that create this sort of worry, right? Maybe you have bills, maybe you have certain things you want, or just a certain level of security that you want for yourself, or just other plans for yourself. Those are all part of your plan, and they will not be missed. But part of kind of, if you're building a new way of life for yourself, it's not going to be done the way that you have known things to be done, right? So that's part of what you're discovering in this space. It's how to get your needs met in a way that is fostering your creativity and your joy without feeling like it is exploitative. With the King of Stones here, got a lone wolf howling at a moon. part of this next step of your journey and destination, right? You might be feeling a bit alone, a bit like you've been walking your own path for a while. Well, where this energy is writing itself is making the call, right? You are calling out to your support team, and both on the inside, like just calling out, just wanting not to be maybe doing this so much on your own, to feeling like you were not maybe as supported as you would like. That's kind of where this sense of urgency is coming from, of like feeling like you're barely holding things together because there's so much to manage on your own, right? So little of your time to be spent on what you need to get done. This is you calling in support. But you have to be open to it, right? You have to be making that call, or nobody's going to find you. Imagine wandering through the woods alone and just doing your best to be as quiet and unnoticed as possible. Like, you would go unnoticed. Nobody would find you. So what the King of Stones is asking us to do is to put ourselves out there in a very visible, clear way. I'm hearing like howling like a wolf. Just a good old "Awoo!" Like really announcing your presence boldly and strongly. Announce what you're about. King of Stones, king of worldly things. Like whatever it is you're about, announce that. Say, I am here. That is how you call in your support. You have your thing, right? You've been working on it. That's where this time card's coming. Like you're really worried. Like, when is this going to take off? When is this going to be the thing that supports me? When is this going to bring in my new world, right? Well, you're on the journey. You're doing it, but it needs the space to really thrive, to really grow. And if you're feeling like you don't have the support that you need, ask for it. And if you feel like you're not necessarily around the sort of people that you want to be around, well, why is that? You gotta howl. Gotta go woo, and just hear who howls back and follow that. Okay, delightful pile number 1 with the clocks. This is your reading. If you were drawn to any of the piles, you can go ahead and check out those timestamps. If you liked this reading and it resonated with you, please leave a like and a comment with letting me know how you connected with it. If you would like to support me, I do make handmade runes. You can check out that in the description, as well as offer tarot services, which are on my Ko-fi, for more personal readings that might be more direct about your situations. Other than that, I hope you have a lovely whatever time it is for you, but for me it's night, so have a good one of those, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello. If you chose pile number 2, or this card with the bed floating through the ocean, a canopied bed with some fishies and jellyfishes and a bunch of bubbles, and I think that's a tiny whale in the background, or it's a big whale very far away, then this is your reading for today. Here, I'll hold this so you can get a little better idea of the details. It's kind of hard with this low lighting, but do the best. Okay. So I've got this with this card. There's something particularly important about your dreams, that you've been having a lot of dreams lately, and there's a reason that you've been having a lot of dreams lately. It's because your subconscious is shouting to you. Right? It's got something very important it wants to let you know. and it's trying to get your attention. And in these stages where it does that, it tends to escalate. So you may be having more vivid dreams, more, so I say, troublesome dreams. But it's not because your subconscious wants to torture you. It's because that there is something important, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at your dreams and see what your subconscious might be wanting to tell you. I'll put up your tarot cards here now. We have, the cave bear. We have a polar bear with some northern lights behind them, and they're guarding this entrance to this little cave. We have the 8 of arrows, struggle. And here we have a person kind of weathering a storm with a lantern, and there's arrows strewn about. Looks like they've had a hard journey. And lastly, we have the 4 of stones, protection. Maybe a little doe hanging out under some stones and some trees in the background. It looks like it's the sun's rising. They perhaps have weathered a storm and are safe through the night. Okay, pile number 2. It appears that there's a situation that has you really worried. Right? It's something that is on your mind often, and yet is thrust out of your mind as quickly as you think about it. Right? I'm seeing here kind of like a barrier being tossed up from the outside world, and kind of moving a bit more blindly because of it. Right? Because you're always just throwing up this barrier. And I'm getting that it's lending you this feeling that you're maybe feeling a bit lost and feeling a bit like general anxiety, right? And that's because whatever's going on is you're not quite facing it, and that's what the great bear here is asking of you. It's challenging you to come and see. What is this thing about? What is this situation that you are avoiding looking more closely at, learning more about? Right? And it's that old saying. It's that saying of, it's better. What is the saying? But it's better to know than to not know. But this is a really challenging situation because it's something that maybe you're scared of the answer. And so the great bear challenges you, says, well, if you're feeling brave, come crawl in and take a look and see, because you don't know. And you're worried, but the great bear is not promising one way or another what the answer is. What it's saying is you need to look at this thing. However, whatever it is saying like, it wants you to look, because whatever worries that you're having right now are not based in the reality of the situation. Maybe there is a problem. Maybe there is a actual thing that something needs to be done. But whatever that problem is, it's not as bad as you think it is. This is what the 4 of stones here is coming to offer you. Right, so whatever situation may have come up to mind when you just imagined crawling a little bit deeper and looking a little bit deeper, it's saying it's not what you think. It's not this terrible, awful thing. And it definitely always is better to know, no matter what the situation is. But you're not going to know until you crawl in and dig a little deeper. I'm wanting to familiarize myself more with this deck. This is the Wildwood Tarot. So I'm going to read the 4 of stones this time. Go ahead and pull that out somewhere here. You're actually not going to be able to read the text on the book this time because it's just so dang dark. But I can read it for you, so not a problem. Here we are. the meaning of the card. The newly risen sun brings hope and renewed vitality to the vulnerable. Here, while I'm doing that, you can check this out. There we go. The newly risen sun brings hope and renewed vitality to the vulnerable. Shelter and protection for the weak or the spiritually wounded is the responsibility of us all. Many trials and tribulations surface during our lifetime, and being able to endure such times is a sign of a strong heart and a healthy spirit. Finding a personal place of emotional safety may require patience and a stoical dedication to the quest. But for those who have weathered adversity and known loss, the light of life and love will always burn brightly within them. By building on a foundation of ethical beliefs, boundaries, and skills, we can be assured that when the test comes, we are secure in our self-knowledge and confidence. The human ability to recognize and feel compassion for those who need help is just as important. However, the storm may tear at our own inner place of protection. We must keep the faith that the sun will rise again for those in peril and offer fresh opportunities and spiritual rewards. Such is the law of karma, that each act of selfless protection and mercy for those in need revitalizes the spiritual warrior with a sense of peace and divinity rarely found in common practice. You might feel like you've had your fill of hardships and you couldn't handle another set of bad news or something not going your way or whatever the situation is for you. And that can have us feeling like wanting to go within, to protect ourselves by protecting our sight and our mind from these things. But we only can bury them, and then they take their toll on us in the subconscious, and they wreak havoc. They're wreaking so much more havoc than the actual situation, and then they're wreaking continual havoc on our lives because they're just bubbling there under the surface. So this is the invitation for you to do whatever it is that you can do in your situation to look a little bit deeper. And know that you're protected, and know that this is part of your trials. And it can be hard sometimes, but it is infinitely harder to just weather these worries. And we think we can silence them, that they'll go away, but well, your dreams are here to tell you that they won't let you go. Not until you look. Okay, pile number 2. I know a bit of a heavier situation here, but remember, you are guided and protected. And this is all part of your... This is all part of your own journey as a spiritual warrior. Going to find a lot of situations like these that are hard to look at, and this isn't certainly not an admonishment in my eyes. It's natural, right, to want to protect ourselves in this way. But I think as we go on, we see that we don't actually protect ourselves. We just give ourselves more struggle. Well, I'm wishing you the best of luck with whatever your situation is. And really, really my heart goes out to you. I know these things can be scary. Whatever the mind comes up with, though, is always so much scarier. Right? Whatever we can form out of the shapes in the shadows and the darkness, when it's just a funny shaped tree. Okay, pile number 2. Really, that's all I have for you tonight. Trying to keep these a little bit shorter. If this reading resonated with you and you enjoyed it, please leave a like and perhaps a comment down below to let me know how it connected with you. If you would like to support me, I have a Ko-fi, which I'm accepting donations, or if you'd like to get more personal readings, perhaps about this situation or another, you are, I'm open for bookings. I also do hand-sewn runes, and I also sell those on my Ko-fi. Otherwise, if you connected with any of the other readings and like to go check them out, go ahead and check those out now. Otherwise, until next time, bye. Hello, pile number 3. If you picked this card with this older fellow with some birds flying out of his head, then this is your reading for today. Sorry, I'm trying to get this in focus. It's a little blurry because of the low light. All right, again, we are looking at the question of what do our shadows want us to know? What a part of ourselves do they want us to see? And immediately with this card, I'm getting a sense of a fixed thought pattern, of maybe one that has served you for a very long time. It's kind of growing old, right? And it's holding you back a bit because it's lending you to doing things in the same way that you have been doing it and getting the same results, and therefore leaving you feeling just a little bit grumpy. And so you might have been doing other inner work and changing your perspectives, and maybe you have some goals that you're really excited about, but you're just not quite getting there, it feels like. Well, this card is asking you to release those thought patterns, right? And to maybe install some new ones that might be more fitting for what you're trying to work on. Because if you have a goal in mind, that's one thing, but then you need the habits and the thoughts and all of those things that alongside it that will help bring it to fruition. So let's go ahead and take a look and see maybe what sort of thoughts, what kind of thoughts need some evaluating here, right? Because we need to become aware of what thoughts are happening in our head. The first step is awareness, right? Become aware of how we are thinking, how we are approaching things, and then making the conscious choice, is that going to get us to our goals? Or do I want to replace it with a different belief or thought that might serve me better at this time? So we have for your cards, here, I'll hold them up here. We have the Ace of Bows, the Spark of Life, and we have a bow and arrow here, and the arrow tip is just sparked with new inspiration, right? This is you picking up your bow and arrow as you picking up your idea, your way of doing things with like a new vigor, right? A new spark of inspiration. It's kind of switching out old tools. I'm feeling like, just like a kind of broken down bow that's maybe like duct taped together. And now you're freshening up your arsenal, your artillery, your tools. The tools, that's the word. Although I like the idea of like a painter or something having their arsenal of brushes, and then they just get like some new ones. Ooh. We have the Four of Arrows, Rest. We have a person here. It looks like they've been crawling along and now they've just been pinned down with some arrows. Kind of like some bugs maybe in collections, and then we actually have like a butterfly up here, kind of fluttering away freely while they're unconscious. It's almost like they're dreaming and like their spirits taking flight. Yeah, you might be feeling a lot, very much run down too, right? So this is you taking that time to stop what you're doing and evaluate, right? Go within, go above, and really just explore with some curiosity. With this card too, I very much see it's the new mind is something that comes to mind. And that's approaching things with like a childlike wonder. Even situations that you feel so rote in, right? You're so familiar with them, to just intentionally go at them with the perspective of like newfound wonder. To intentionally to try to see it in a new light, to see that anything in our lives, however routine they may appear, however many years we may have been doing them and doing them in the same way, can be approached in a different fashion. We have our way of doing it, but we have our way of scrubbing the dishes, but have you tried scrubbing in the opposite direction? Did you even realize that you scrub dishes in the same direction? And that you could maybe go in like a counterclockwise pattern or up and down? Or, that there's just entirely different ways to do dishes? Like, there's always something in a situation, no matter how mundane, no matter how routine it might seem. All we have to do is maybe look at somebody else, especially look at children, and see how they approach situations where it may just be a new thing every day. There's always a new way to do something. And it's always it's that sort of thing that can really just breathe a new life into our world. Or we might be feeling a bit stuck and worn down and bored, maybe. We have the Knight of Bows, the fox. Here, I'm gonna write this one so you can take a look at this fox's happy face. He looks so delighted. The Knight of Bows. I'm actually going to go ahead and read this one from the book because I've been trying to familiarize myself more with this deck, and I like this book, so I've been doing that for each of the readings. You're not going to be able to read the text, but I'm just going to read it out for you, and you can go ahead and look at the card while I'm doing that. Boop. Here we go, the Knight of Bows. The qualities of cunning and stalking combined with great alertness and curiosity make the fox a stealthy night hunter. Often seen at dawn, the fox retains a beguiling nature of wisdom and playfulness. Determination leads you to success, but sometimes at personal cost. Your life may change or enter a different path at any moment. Native wit and cleverness guide your steps towards fulfillment, as does your gift of anticipating the future. Right, cleverness, wits. Right here. Leaving old ways behind. Separation by distance. Changing direction. Right, we have the cleverness and wit of a fox, which is very much an energy that you could bring into your day-to-day. And remember, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So maybe you're not quite sure how you can go about how you can like take a different approach. Maybe you're working on something important right now with the Ace of Bows, and maybe it is even something new to you, and you're just not really sure how to even take a new approach on it, right? And you've been trying, and maybe things haven't been working out as much. You're feeling worn down, like you've been putting a lot of energy into this. But how we do one thing is how we do all the things in our life. So if we're feeling a bit stuck and if feeling like we need a bit of a revitalizing energy. Sorry, I'm trying to get this out of the shadows, ironically. If we're feeling a bit stuck and like we need a bit of like revitalizing energy in what we're doing, then, just instill that energy into every aspect of your life. Right? Get clever about the things that you do routinely and intentionally shake things up a bit. Challenge yourself. See how many different ways you can find to do something. Because I assure you, you won't run out of ways to do something. You'll may find yourself easily and routinely finding your way back into like the routine that you do. But fostering this energy of spending more time into the unknown and spending more time changing your perspective will cause that to and cause that to go out throughout, the rest of your life and how you approach every challenge that comes your way. It'll give you more of that out of the box thinking. So the challenge here is pretty clear. Find a couple of things that are just the most routine in your day. Maybe something that you do every day, and see how differently you can do it and still get it done. Don't worry about how long it'll take, or just whatever challenges it might create. Just allow that to be something you're curious to find out. Be very curious, right? What happens if you do this a different way? What happens if you take a different turn? And you may be very well surprised at what sort of new delightful situations that you come across that you may not have ever before. Okay, pile number 3. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter. So this is your reading for tonight. If this reading resonated with you and you liked it, please leave a like and a comment down below letting me know how it connected with you. If you like what I'm doing here and would like to support me, I have a Ko-fi down below in my description, which you can either donate to me, or I do offer tarot readings as well, which you can book me for those. As well as I do make some handmade runes that I sell on my Ko-fi as well. Other than that, if you connected with any of the other readings, you can go ahead and jump to the timestamps below, and I will see you over there. Otherwise, until next time, that was weird. Here, yeah, I'll do something different too. Bye. Hello. Pile number 4. If you chose the card with the polar bear, who's got 2 cubs and a stuffed toy, then this is your reading. I'll hold this here for a moment to let you get a good focus on it. Right, so the thing that's coming up immediately for this card is for what your shadows want you to know, for what part of yourself, right, that you're not quite seeing, is a part of you that really, really would like to kind of explore things more from a childlike energy, just putting a childlike enthusiasm that maybe has not been present in your life for some time, in a life that is full of serious deadlines and responsibilities and all these things. There's an inner child in you that just wants to play. And I know that this can be hard. When we've been conditioned to behave in a certain way as adults, and we have a certain level of respectability about us. I actually wanted to share with you something that I've done and am going to continue to do sometimes, which is, when was the last time that you had eaten spaghetti with your hands? Because let me tell you, it is one of the best ways to eat spaghetti. Children know best. Forks that all scrapey on the table, and you have to fight with the noodles to get them on. No, and then you have the proper Italian technique where you got the spoon and you gotta twirl the pasta in the spoon, and it just requires all this manual dexterity, and still it's just no, that's not how you eat spaghetti. You eat it by the handful, and you make a mess. And let me tell you, I had a hard time getting myself to do this. It was just such a reaction against being messy while eating and not playing with my food and all these things that maybe you heard while growing up that I certainly did. That was just. I'm an adult. I can do what I want. Nobody can tell me how to eat my spaghetti. I don't eat my spaghetti like this all the time. It's kind of inconvenient in terms of just, it does make a mess, but I think sometimes it is fun to play with your food. So I just want to share that because like that's, you know, I know it's something that people get embarrassed about, but it's well worth it. You make a mess, take your shirt off, maybe. Uh, you know, it's gonna be a mess. Or wear a shirt that you don't mind getting a bunch of sauce over. But yeah, it's worth it. I promise you. I could maybe end the reading there and just say go eat some spaghetti with your hands, but you know, or whatever the equivalent is for you. Maybe specifically things that you were told not to do in your childhood and it didn't really make sense. Like, why can't I do that? And now you're an adult and it's like, oh, I don't do this anyways. And it's just like, why not? So I could leave it there, but let's go ahead and take a look at the cards. We have the Queen of Bows, the Hare. Is very, very stoic, very very poised hare. And yet they're skittish, you know, their ears are up, they're alert for danger. Right? And they're ready to jump at the slightest sign of danger. And that's kind of the energy that you're giving off right now, is feeling a bit uptight, but in jumpy, in a sense of like kind of worried about what others might be thinking or feeling about you. And that's causing a discordance with the real you, which might have other ideas for how you want to enjoy your spaghetti. Or whatever your spaghetti equivalent is. We have balance. Right? And this isn't saying here's the other thing, right? Because maybe you have experimented with this a bit. And maybe this is also something that gives you a sense of shame, right? A worry of like, oh, am I just going to regress into like a childlike state? And you know, this card is reassuring to say like, no, this is about finding a balance within yourself. And when we, like a pendulum, when we find ourselves pulled out so much to one side, right? And then like we finally let go, like it tends to swing to the extremes for a while as we come to find our balance. So we might find ourselves over here sometimes, and then it might be a cause for, it might make you feel like you need to worry about your behavior or things like that. But you know, it may feel tumultuous at times, but it's all about coming and finding your balance. And how do we know the center, right? We know the center by the edges of the boundaries. And until we explore them, you know, we stay stuck. We stay stuck over here. And a bit fixed. But we can let go of some of that and not lose that part of ourselves. We can enhance that part of ourselves by being in balance. Because when we are not in balance and only one side of us gets represented, one side of us gets its freedom, right? Then we are not our whole selves, and therefore we don't operate. You know, we don't operate very well in that space. We have the King of Vessels, the Heron. The vessels being cups. I'm going to flip this one over so you can get a look, and I'm actually going to read this one from the book because I have been reading, I've been wanting to get myself more familiar with these cards, so I've been reading the lovely passages from the books. So let's go ahead and read this one from the book first. And you aren't going to be able to see the words, so you're just going to have to listen to me reading it. But you can go ahead and look at this card while I do that. Okay. Greeting the dawn, often alone, the heron is reputed to be gifted with psychic perception and reflection. The guardian of many esoteric secrets, it is said to stand at the gateway between life and death and to act as a mediator on the soul's journey to the Celtic underworld and reincarnation. A deep belief in fairness, honesty, and honor colors everything you do. The profound depths of your character, once stirred into action, carry all before it. However, your admiration of self-control can sometimes make you appear too rigid. What was it? I told you the reading could have ended right in the beginning. Artistic ability, honesty and integrity, consideration of others, affectation. Right. So this card is begging you to explore yourself some more, and to explore yourself through maybe where your rigidity is feeling oppressive, right? The parts of your life where it's just like you don't know why you do these things, but you just do. And all of that goes back to our childhood. It's all the things that we were modeled on behavior of, like, what is the behavior that makes us acceptable in the eyes of our parents and guardians, authority figures and loved ones. And they might not necessarily be things that we believe in or things that we wish to be. So it's a little bit windy out tonight. So this is what your shadow is asking of you. Right? Explore those parts of yourself that maybe feel a bit too rigid for you, feel suffocating. Right? And explore them in whatever way that feels safe for you. You don't have to do this out in public where others are watching, but if you have just your own safe space to explore these things in, you're going to find a lot more parts of yourself that you weren't even aware of. And they're the parts of you that allow you to be whole, to come and act from a place of wholeness, right? With this balance. And maybe you'll find that eating spaghetti with your hands is not your jam, but what you will find is that you're allowed to eat your spaghetti and nobody's going to knock down your door. You're allowed to eat your spaghetti with your hands and nobody's going to knock down your door and tell you to stop. And I think that's the most freeing thing of all, right? We live in a society. We are mindful of others and how our actions might hurt others, but there's so much that we tell ourselves that, like, we have to do because of others, and really it's not true. We can do so much just for ourselves, and because it brings us joy. It doesn't have to make sense to others. It doesn't have to please others. It doesn't have to even not gross others out. It's for us, and that's all we need. Lovely pile number 4. I'm going to leave it here. I'm trying to leave these a little bit shorter. This really is a lovely space to be in. I know initially it has some challenges, but, like, this is such a fun place to be in, to explore. And I wish you the best of luck with exploring the side of yourself, because you're going to find some really amazing and lovely things hidden in there. Okay. If you liked this reading and it resonated with you, please do leave a like on the video and a comment down below letting me know how it connected with you. If you would like to support me, I have a Ko-fi in the description where you can either donate to me or book a private tarot reading where we can dive more in depth into any questions. I also do make my own hand-sewn runes, so if you're interested in purchasing that, you can also find that on my Ko-fi. And otherwise, if you connected with any of the other cards and would like to hop over to those readings, you can go ahead and do so now. Otherwise, until next time, take care. Bye.